The second episode of Google Apps Education talks more about the calendars, how to manage sharing, and some of the other unique ways that you can use the Google Apps Education site to include subsites. Here under Calendar Settings, you can go into the different calendars, select the calendar, and choose who you're sharing the calendar with. In this case, I've taken an entire group called Keepers at Big Cat Rescue, and they are allowed to see this green Keeper calendar. Now what I'll show you in the back end of the bigcat.me site is how to set up groups of certain individuals' email addresses who are all subscribed to Keepers. This also lets us know that staff can see what's going on this calendar. All of the volunteers can see what's going on with this calendar. Certain people have privileges to make changes and manage the sharing, and some can just see the event details. Here you can put in a description of the calendars. It creates an iframe that you can embed wherever you want, which is what we've done on the bigcat.me site. So to show you how easy it is to use the calendars, we'll go over to the calendar. And let's say that I wanted to set up an event where I was going to come in at 7:30 on Sunday in December. I have this set for December because I was working on something else. Just click on the spot where I want to put it. Carol coming in for private tour, and create event. Now this is only showing up on my personal calendar, nobody else can see it, so I would edit it, and I can choose from the drop-down list to put it on the calendar that's appropriate. So in this case, this would be a staff calendar issue. I hit save. Notice it changes to the dark blue, which means the staff can see why I'm coming in that day. But since I'm not really coming in that day, I can edit the details, delete it, and now it's off of the calendar. It's also very easy for people to come in and set up when they're going to be coming in. Like say Chris comes in to clean every Tuesday at 7:30. He can set that up so that every Tuesday that will go onto the calendar. He doesn't have to enter it each time. And if he decides to change it at any given point, he can delete everything going forward. It also gives us a nice history of who's been here before. We have the FreshBooks that I mentioned where we keep track of their volunteer hours, but this is just another backup of who was there on any given day. I'm going to go a little bit out of order here since we're talking about scheduling things. And in the sidebar, you can see that there's a big 11 days until, and that is a countdown that we can make for any upcoming event. One of the things that we frequently have to remind our volunteers to do is to log their hours for the month, and we give them all kinds of prizes and awards based upon how many hours they log over and above what they're required. And in order to remind them, it's always here on their .me site, which is what we refer to. The bigcatrescue.me site is usually just the .me site because I've used that URL to point to it. So over here in the left sidebar, it'll tell them that they have 11 days left in the month in order to log their hours. This is an automated feature. I've just set it for the last day of the month, and it'll give a countdown, a new countdown number every day. We also have I have chosen to do this, you don't have to, but you can have the recent site activity over here in the left sidebar. So it tells you who has done something recently on the pages without having to go through each one of those pages to see if there's been something new. So if you just want a quick overview of changes that have been made, it'll always be the most recent ones over here, and you can set the level as to how many of those that you see at any given time. Since this sidebar tends to alphabetize things, anything that's old, I create a Z, old docs, and can keep them here so that people can go back and check things if they need to, but we don't lose that information entirely from the site, from people being able to find it. So it's over here, but it's not up here in the most important things that we have here on the left sidebar. You can also create outside links. So this Big Cat Rescue link goes to our main bigcatrescue.org site, and the Big Cat blog goes out to our blogger blog. I'll talk about private sites later, but essentially these are sites that have very limited access and only people with certain permissions can even access them at all, but I've put them here to make it easier for us to find them. We have a lot of things where we want to give over the ownership of them to our volunteers who sign up for different things. So like we have an enrichment committee, and over here they can go to their own page with a link. It's easy to find from the main site, and they can do all of the edits. These people who are on the committee can do all of the edits to this site. They can make it look any way that they want. They can set up their charts. They can set up all of their surveys and everything on their own without changing the main website for everyone to see. We have the same thing set up over here for the operant conditioning. And again, we have a whole group of people here who are on the operant conditioning committee, and they have their own website that they can operate as well. We keep our organizational chart here, which reminds people of how the chain of command works and details that out for them. It describes their volunteer committee and what their duties may include, and the contact information for them, what the staff's roles are, the board of directors, the officers. All of those things are available for them there. We even have a whole page on phone etiquette. Since we live in Florida, there is a resource here about poisonous snakes. This way they can see images of the snakes and know what to do in an emergency, or whether or not a snake really is an emergency. Our code of honor, and this is a really important part, that we try to make sure that we run everything through our code of honor so that we are dealing with each other in the best possible way. Again, we have an awful lot of toxic plants in Florida, and so we post images of them here so that they are aware of what they look like, what their seeds look like, different pictures, because there's different variations that grow in Florida. And then the why. Why are we picking up sticks and raking leaves? Why can't volunteers and interns use the golf carts? Why is there a 10 p.m. curfew? Anything that we hear, why, then it goes on this page so that anybody who's afraid to ask could just go right here to the page and find out. Under the volunteer section, we have advocates, who are people that are wanting to be volunteers but can't put in the minimum 4 hours per week. Those people do not typically work on site for anything, but they do a lot of off-site work for us. We have a site here where they can sign up and the different things that we have for them to do here. Our awards are posted on this page. We list our SAVE awards, our Volunteer of the Year awards. Each month there's 4 pages of awards for different things that people did. We want to make sure that everybody is given proper recognition. The volunteers have their own blog on this site where we encourage them to keep up with each other and post pictures and pat each other on the back and really create a sense of community here where they have a voice in what's happening. Contact information for all of our volunteers is listed here at that link. We have a new newsletter section where we will be posting all of the minutes, and we have a required section where they must read that they know the announcements that we have stated at the meetings in case they haven't been there, and sign off on them so that we know that everybody's going to be safe. This is just a fun section of photographs of our volunteers and a couple of slideshows. And then tributes. And this is an outside site where we've done tributes to the cats who have passed on. Join us for Chapter 3 of Google Education Apps.